just off Pennsylvania Avenue, a block from the White House then occupied by Bill and Hillary Clinton, was one of America's raunchiest sex clubs for couples only, dedicated to wife-swapping and uninhibited sex with strangers. One of the club's regulars was Donald Trump's longtime friend and political confidant Roger Stone and his stunning wife, Nydia, who went by the pseudonym Nikki. A pleasant lunch place and bar during the week for white-collar Washington, D.C. civil servants in the mid-1990s, the place transformed on Saturday nights into a steamy XXX-rated private club aptly named Capital Couples, where the Stones rubbed shoulders and other body parts with a variety of mostly upscale members. In the jargon of Roger and Nikki's swinging lifestyle, the club was billed as being off-premise, meaning no sex acts were to take place on the premises. With AIDS still rampant, health officials and law enforcement nationwide were cracking down on such sex clubs, and the use of condoms was being enforced. But by midnight, the Capital Couples Club had turned into one big orgy, with sex acts openly taking place on the darkened dance floor, in back rooms, and even along the elegant L-shaped bar, with porn videos running in the background on TV sets. The Stones were card-carrying regulars at Capital Couples and also at one of the raunchiest sex clubs for couples in New York City, La Trapeze. At the time, Roger Stone, with a long history of working for Presidents Nixon, Reagan, Bush, was acting as an unpaid senior consultant to veteran Kansas Republican politician Bob Dole's unsuccessful presidential campaign. Stone had an office at Dole's headquarters and had helped convince Dole to choose the New York politician and one-time professional football player Jack Kemp as his running mate. Some years later, Dole is best remembered as a TV spokesman for the erectile dysfunction drug Viagra. Stone's shapely Cuban-American second wife, Nydia, also had platinum conservative political connections. She reportedly served as a personal photographer for President Richard Nixon, and as a photographer in the White House of Ronald Reagan, including for his 1980 presidential election campaign. It was while Nydia was photographing a Reagan campaign that she is said to have met her future husband, Roger. Love at first sight, they were married in 1992, in the swinging capital of the world, Las Vegas. They held another ceremony in Washington, D.C., which Donald Trump and his then-fiancée Marla Maples attended. In 1996, when word leaked out that long-term political consultant Stone, working for the conservative cause of Bob Dole, was actively involved in the swinger lifestyle with his wife, investigative reporters began looking into their involvement. A freelance journalist for an alternative Washington newspaper, Scott Baranchik, was working on a story undercover in Capital Couples with his date, another reporter, when they were approached by a couple who identified themselves as Roger and Nikki. Others had also identified the Stones as regulars at the club. One man claimed that Stone had struck up a conversation with him at a Republican fundraiser on Capitol Hill in the winter of 1994 and asked whether my wife and I like to have a good time. Stone then handed him a photo of Nydia and said, "Keep it. It has our phone number on the back. If you want to have a good time with us, call us." According to the man's account, Stone mentioned that he and his wife had recently been in California and had fun with a member of the U.S. Marine Corps. Stone told him his wife was a very attractive lady and that I could have fun with her, too. The man passed on the offer. While the Stones weren't doing anything illegal or criminal as swing club regulars, his activities were viewed as hypocritical and immoral based on the conservative family values that Dole espoused in his campaign, and that Roger Stone advocated as a Dole frontman. Not only were the Stones identified as swing club aficionados, they were also linked to personal advertisements to meet other couples and single men in what was reported as some 70 swinger magazines and at least one website. In one such publication, Local Swing Fever, and on a website advertisement paid for using a Stone credit card, the copy read, "Hot, insatiable lady and her handsome bodybuilder husband, experienced swingers, seek similar couples or exceptional muscular well-hung single men. She's 40 DD-24-36. He's 195, trim, blonde, muscular and 8 single quote plus. Prefer military, bodybuilders, jocks. No smokers or fats please. Photo and phone required. RNN. We are interested in DC, VA, MD, NYC, Miami, and Louisiana. The suggestive photos, which first appeared in the National Enquirer in a September 1996 issue with the headline, "Top Dole Caught in Group Sex Ring," showed Roger Stone naked from the waist up with a black bar over his eyes, presumably to hide his identity. Nikki Stone was photographed in thigh-high stockings, with one leg up, and wearing a revealing teddy displaying her ample breasts. In another photo, in which she faces the camera, her breasts are fully exposed, but the Enquirer placed a censored bar across them. Stone, a long-term advisor to President Trump, was indicted last week on charges of witness tampering, making false statements and obstruction of justice in the ongoing investigation into alleged Trump administration Russian collusion by special counsel Robert S. Mueller. FBI agents raided and arrested Stone at his home that he shares with his wife in Florida on Friday morning. Agents also searched his residence in New York City, said Kristen Davis, known as the Manhattan Madam, and according to CNN. Davis has shared the duplex with Stone, but said she wasn't there during the search because she had recently moved out. Making fun of Stone's arrest, Saturday Night Live's Michael Che, the co-anchor on the Weekend Update segment, referenced Stone's swinger persona. Che said he Googled Stone and learned, "It looks like he pays black guys to bang his wife." A reference also surfaced in the recent documentary Get Me Roger Stone, when one of Stone's cohorts observed, "We might have had a President Al Gore without the swinger scandal." After his arraignment on Friday, Stone emerged from the courthouse and shouted a personal truism to a crowd, "I have always said, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about." The Enquirer's expose noted that while Bob Dole was campaigning on the moral crises in America, one of his top advisors, Stone, and his wife frequent a group sex club and post ads in magazines and online seeking others to join them in orgies. The graphic account went viral, and Stone, who today calls himself trisexual, because I've tried everything, gave a convoluted and emphatic denial of the stories at the time. He claimed, among other things, that he and his wife were the target of a political trickster, and that he often was sent sex-related mail. The photos that were published, he asserted, were sent against his knowledge to a swingers magazine. He claimed that the online photos of him and his wife were put up without his knowledge and against his wishes. He claimed the photos had been stolen from the Stones' spectacular multi-million-dollar white brick contemporary home near Georgetown by a domestic who he had fired several months earlier for having a drug problem. Stone refused to disclose the domestic's name, and threatened that he might sue. But that never happened and, as a result of the press accounts, Stone was let go by the Dole campaign, which stated he could no longer serve effectively as a spokesman for the presidential hopeful. A dozen years later, Stone finally admitted the truth about the swing club scandal. In the June 2, 2008, issue of the New Yorker magazine, in a lengthy profile entitled "The Dirty Trickster," Stone told journalist Jeffrey Toobin that the swinger stories were all true. When that whole thing hit the fan in 1996, admitted Stone, "The reason I gave a blanket denial was that my grandparents were still alive. I'm not guilty of hypocrisy. I'm a libertarian and a libertine." Around the same time that the Stone swinger story broke, another scandal involving a veteran politico was making supermarket tabloid headlines, and had quickly also gone mainstream, with sex scandals piquing the interest of the media and the public. Not long before President Clinton became embroiled in the Monica Lewinsky scandal, Clinton's chief political strategist, Dick Morris, was forced to resign in 1996 after a supermarket tabloid revealed that he had a year-long affair with a $200 an hour call girl, and permitted her to listen in on confidential calls with the president, and to see advances of speeches made by then First Lady Hillary Clinton. Stone has long despised the Clintons. Working for the Dole campaign, Stone's job was to attack Bill Clinton's inconsistencies. In an appearance in 1996 on Comedy Central's Politically Incorrect program, Stone attacked Clinton's morals, accusing him of hitting on Nikki at President Nixon's 1994 funeral. The charge shocked the audience. A dozen years after banner headlines trumpeted, "Top Dole in Sex Orgies Scandal," Roger Stone invited Jeffrey Toobin to conduct some or all of their interview for The New Yorker inside, of all places, a Miami swinger club called Miami Velvet, where a sign read, "If sexual activity offends you in any way, do not enter the premises." Stone revealed that it was in a club, where swingers have sex in half a dozen private rooms, that he struck up a conversation with an off-duty call girl at the bar, telling her he was a dentist. She mentioned that she almost once had a date with the then-married Democratic governor of New York, Eliot Spitzer, who she claimed was into prostitutes and escorts. The subsequent scandal resulted in Spitzer resigning in 2008, and his wife divorcing him. Among the various swinger clubs the Stones attended was the legendary La Trapeze, on East 27th Street, in Manhattan, which first opened its doors in 1980, and where guests could eat around the buffet while naked. A sign read, "Please cover lower torso at food bar." Stone and his wife were well known to the management. Despite the AIDS epidemic, the club and others continued to proliferate. The New York Times reported in the single-quote 90s that clubs like La Trapeze offered anonymous sex with multiple partners, and there were about 50 such establishments in the city, a third of them with a heterosexual clientele. While legal, they often ran afoul of laws that prohibited on-premise sex. The owner of the couples-only La Trapeze told the Times that the club catered to mostly married couples and professionals, ranging in age from 30 to 60, looking for sex with other couples, and that most of them used condoms. The 4,300-square-foot Midtown Club was closed in June 2017, and was later gutted by the new owners. But souvenirs of the club's old swinging days were discovered in the debris, including an enormous hot tub. The club's owner had been ordered to fill it with cement by a former mayor of the Big Apple, who reigned from 1994 through 2001 and who ruled over the cleanup of the city's sex spots. His owner back then was Rudy Giuliani, today Donald Trump's mouthpiece, and presumably a friend of Roger Stone. Giuliani called the special counsel charges against Stone another false statement case. God Almighty. I thought they were taking all this time with Stone to try to develop something on him, not a lot about "I don't remember this," or "I don't remember that." There is no evidence but false statements. The